The Garden Gurus Live is brought to you by Garden Express and Troforte. Garden Express are Australia's leading mail ordering service, offering a wide range of quality gardening products. Each week on the Garden Gurus Live, the team at Garden Express will share a weekly offer. So make sure after today's show, you jump online and visit their website.
Troforte is the leading supplier of controlled release fertilisers and micronutrients, and it's committed to delivering environmentally friendly solutions for your garden. Each week we'll be giving away a Troforte prize pack valued at $250. Simply follow, like and comment the weekly code word on Troforte's Facebook page.
Hello, welcome to the Garden Gurus Live. I'm Trevor Cochran. We have got Shay and Way driving the machine today, so everything should run smoothly. We've got a great show lined up for you. In fact, it's all about your questions this week, so make sure that you get them in to us. Earlier the better. There's been a few people saying, oh, you didn't answer my questions. Well, get them in nice and early, and we're in with a pretty good chance of doing that. Now, interestingly enough, it's been a really changing period in the last week right across Australia, where we're now seeing soil moisture levels actually drop to a level that's real traditional dry summer kind of conditions, which means you have to up your irrigation. So I'll be giving you a little bit of advice along the way, but I think a lot of our questions that we'll see today will actually start to reflect that. So I will be making sure that that's paramount in the discussion. Also, don't forget, of course, this week you've got the chance for the best question to win a $50 gift voucher for Garden Express. Of course, Garden Express, your online shop, 24/7. They are just fantastic and they deliver direct to your door. Later on, we'll have an offer with them as well. This week is also, I think, maybe the last week of the Troforte giveaway as well. So really important that you stay tuned because we'll give you the code word and it's your chance to win a $250, pretty much all your garden can eat pack of Troforte, and it does such a great job. My garden at the moment is just insanely good. Everything is coming through. We're about a week off apricots and we are just starting to harvest my plant of the week. Do you know what these are? They were picked nice and fresh this morning, of course. Cherries. I'll talk to you about them a bit later on. Now, we've got lots of people saying hello. So good morning to Kang. Good morning to Jeanette. Good morning to Kerry. Hello. Great to have you guys with us. So we've got some pretty cool things. I think what we might do is go straight to the Garden Express one with us. But this week, it's to be getting your hands gift voucher. And so we thought we might just play this for you and you might be able to take this up.
Are you tired of guessing what gift to give on a special occasion? Well, we have the perfect solution for you, and our good friends at Garden Express have the ultimate gift for your garden-loving colleagues, friends, and even a family member with their range of gift vouchers. With a broad range of different vouchers to choose from, you can find the perfect amount to suit your budget. Score a $60 voucher for just $50, or splash out a bit more with a $240 voucher for just $200. With a large online catalogue of plants ranging from bulbs, roses, edibles, perennials, trees, and more, there is bound to be the perfect gift just waiting to be discovered. Go ahead and take the guesswork out of gift giving by making every occasion bloom. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3, and just provide the recipient's details and your special message, and that will go directly to their inbox where they can redeem their voucher, or you can print it off for a personal touch. For more information, head on over to Garden Express.
Don't you just love Bonnie? She's just fantastic. But what a great offer. That is pretty cool. So spend 50, you'll get 60. Spend 100, you'll get 120. Spend 150, You'll get $180 in value. That's some pretty decent shopping, but it's also a really wonderful gift. We were talking last week about the Woolamai pine. It's an amazing gift. That's really good. Oh, there's one more. Spend 200 and get 240. I forgot about that one. But just remember that, these are a really wonderful way to give gifts to people who are not actually in your state or people who you won't be seeing through the Christmas period. So really nice way to actually really do that and get it going. Now, what we'll do is we're going to fly into a bunch of your questions. There's some that are built up and there's some that are coming in this morning. So I'll try and clear some from last week that I didn't get to. But really important, when you actually send your question in, if it's a descriptive one where we need to look at a plant or look at a pest, send us a photo. Remember, tell us where you are, what location, what city, what state, really helps me. And if you're in a particularly unique situation, like you're on the north shore of Sydney and you're getting battered by, coastal breezes and you've got sandy soils, Mornington Peninsula, and you've got sandy soils and you've got to do a lot of work on them. There's lots of different ways that I can kind of help you out, but it does help me a lot to understand your situation. Okay, well, maybe just to help you know how to upload the videos, we'll go to a quick little demo video on how to do that.
Have you got a gardening question you'd like us to answer and you need to send us a photo? Well, simply head to our Facebook page and click on message. Type out your question and click the camera icon to take a photo in the app. Or click the image option and select the image you want to send us. Be sure to allow Facebook access to your camera and camera roll. We check our messages regularly, so sit back and be sure to tune in to the Garden Gurus Facebook Live show every Friday, and you'll hear your answer.
Okay, well, there you go. That's how you do it. So please send us your photographs, upload them, and we will make sure we do our best to answer them. Now, there are a lot of questions coming through. Amy Lefebvre, I hope I got that right. Excuse me if I didn't, Amy. You're in Launceston and Tassie. Let's have a look. You sent us some photos. This is great. Okay, I have a black bug fly on a lot of my cherry fruit tree leaves. Any idea what it could be and how to treat? That does look very unusual, and it is a bit hard to identify the exact bug. But well, look, what I would suggest you do, because I do have a similar sort of situation with my cherries at home, is that I've given them a spray with a garlic spray. It's a really simple way to do it. So it's meant to be garlic chili. I've made it up predominantly as garlic, mixed it up, sprayed it over the foliage. There are no bugs on it, no fruit fly, definitely no what I think might be just fungus gnats on it as well. They do tend to have a few flies hanging around them for some trees and cherries, but yeah, just a bit of a chili garlic spray would be perfect, and you can buy them pre-mixed. We can make your own. Making your own is not that hard either. It's a very simple recipe. It's on our website if you want to download it. Amelia Ladd, you're in Geelong in Victoria, one of my favourite places and the home of Sproutwell greenhouses, which I've got to tell you, I love them because my new greenhouse is just overwhelmed with beautiful tomato plants growing in there, and there's not a single bug on them. In fact, everything that's in there is looking magnificent at present. It's a little bit of a distraction, sorry. Can you tell me how to get ants out of my potted plants? They're also in my garden amongst the mulch. Okay, what that indicates is that there are dry pockets within your potted plants and probably in your garden as well. Amelia, without using a chemical, the simplest way to get them up and get them to move on is a wetting agent, a liquid wetting agent, just soaked all over the top of the soil. Make sure you get the hose out after you've put it over the top and wash it in, because what it's going to do is it's going to encourage the water to move evenly through the soil. Now, the ants are staying in dry pockets in the soil, and you don't want dry pockets in the soil anyway, because there's roots in there, and if they dry out and wither, well, the plant will look like it's going to suffer too. So everything above the soil will start to show signs of what's wrong below the soil. So to move them on, liquid wetting agent, I would be using Sea Sol. They've got their own super wetter, and it is a pretty darn impressive wetting agent. It is my go-to every single time. Hopefully that helps. All right, Cheryl Hughes, back over here in Perth. Hello, Cheryl. Thanks for joining us. Looking for advice on what plants I should use under a frangipani tree in a tropical style garden. Any suggestions would be great. Well, look, I've got a few examples like this. I've been using a lot of strappy leaf, more compact plants, agapanthus as an example. But the one that I would recommend you look at is the fire lily, Clivia miniata. It is an absolute beauty. Flowers in springtime, magnificent, huge bunches of bright orange flowers, and then lovely dark green foliage, really stunning foliage plant as well. So yeah, Clivia is my recommendation. There's a whole bunch of other things, but you get the benefit of lovely foliage, dense covering over the ground. It's not too tall, and at the same time, it produces flowers in springtime. Hopefully that was a bit of a sell for you. Lynette Burns. Hello, Lynette. I'm not sure where you're from. You'd like some information on looking after a Buddha belly plant. Now, Buddha belly is a bamboo. This is the problem with common names, by the way. They actually can be a real beautiful plant if they're looked after properly. What you need to do when they're young is encourage them to grow, but you don't feed them with a high nitrogen fertilizer. You feed them with a high K fertilizer, because basically they've got these big corms, these rhizomes that are moving through the soil, and you want them to develop really quickly, and all the energy to go into developing that root system. It's really important. So a high K fertilizer, remember NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Potassium really encourages good flowering and foliage growth, but along with phosphorus, the combination of the two does encourage really good root growth as well. So a bit of a combination there, but that'll do the job for you, Lynette. Apart from that, full sun, that's pretty much all you have to do. They're just one of those amazing plants. Alan Gray, is it too late to prune a fruit tree? Yes, it probably is, Alan. What you want to do, if it's a deciduous tree, any of the summer fruit are all going to be producing fruit right at the moment. Let them actually fruit, and then after they've actually fruited, then go through and give them a prune. It's usually sort of January, February. Don't go too hard, just prune them into shape. That's the best way to go. Brendan Johnston, you are in Ballarat in Victoria. When I'm watering my garden, how do I know the water is reaching the root system? Do I just set the sprinklers and forget? Well, as long as you're making sure that you've got a wetting agent on there, you can sort of be feeling pretty comfortable with the whole thing. What I would say to you though, dig a hole. You probably want to go down a good 30 centimeters or so if you can. Now, if you're digging 30 centimeters and you're seeing moisture all the way through that soil, great. If you're digging down and you see some pockets, or when you get to a certain depth, you suddenly see that it's actually dry under that, it's time to be applying a wetting agent. Remember I said at the beginning, the weather's changing, these things are going to affect the kinds of issues you have. Well, wetting agents applied now really help you overcome all of those issues. So I hope that helps you a little bit, Brendan. Thanks so much for joining us, particularly from Ballarat, beautiful Ballarat in Victoria. We love it. Now, I've got to wish somebody a very, very special birthday. It's Christine's birthday. Hello, Christine. It's lovely to have you with us. Hope that you're going to have a beautiful day. Thanks for joining us. I know you just had a fantastic holiday. It's great to have you back joining us on the show. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous Friday morning here in Western Australia. Now, let's keep rolling along. Have a great day, Christine. Alice Gallatsley, I think I've got that right, in Mackay in Queensland. Hello, Alice. Good morning. I was wondering if you could help me identify a new breed of cactus. I've heard of a white flowering cactus that indicates when rain is coming. I'm trying to find one I can use at home on our farm. I don't know if there is such a thing. I've never heard of it. I think I would know about something like that. I'm pretty sure weather forecasters would know about it as well. So, Alice, I think unless somebody who's listening or watching knows a little bit more than I do on this space, I don't think I can help you because I don't think it exists. Jeannie Palmer. Hello, Jeannie. How are you? Thanks for joining us. You didn't tell us. Oh, yes, you did. Lewiston in South Australia. That's where you're from. Can you tell me what grapevines need to grow well? Thanks. Yeah. Okay. So right at the moment, your grapevines should be booming away. And if they're not, you need to be feeding them. They're like all other fruiting plants. They expend a huge amount of energy in the springtime, and they're producing foliage and they're producing flowers, which turn into fruits. So those big bunches of grapes that you want, that all needs support. So they need water and they need absolutely really well-balanced nutrients. So hopefully that helps just a bit. Now, there is an article, I think that the ABC put out about a rain predicting cactus flower, but I think that the particular cactus that we're talking about is actually one that is quite a common cactus. It's not a new one as such. It's a cereus, which these cereus cactus tend to probably anticipate when rain's coming, but they're a very slow growing plant as a general comment. And it's probably a little bit hard to get going. They can also be a weed, so you have to be a little bit cautious that they don't go moving through the bushland or anything around the outside of you. The big trumpet flower, it's kind of a white pink and produced up and down a long stem, so don't have any leaves or anything like that as well. But that's certainly from my point of view, I don't know that I agree that it's a rain predictor. I think you have to be a little bit careful with that sort of thing because I don't think it's possible. Pam Collins, hello. You're from Hillary's. You've sent us some photographs. Got 2 pots with hibiscums. They have flowered once. When the flowers die off, do you remove old flowers or do you let them fall off naturally? How many times will each one flower? I have 2 in each pot. Let's have a look at those. Yeah, well, you can see. So you've got the stems coming up. One of them hasn't even got foliage growth yet. That's the great thing about hippies. And there's a whole bunch. There's there's at least 5 flowers on the one on the left of screen, I think, for you. That is going to be absolutely stunning. But as a flower gets older, the first ones that flower will get older and there's others coming through. Remove the ones as they age and it encourages more energy to go into the others. That's just a little simple tip, but it's a good way to go getting some good, some good results. Okay. Ethan Klein, you've got a ripper of a question, Ethan. This is fantastic. You're in Greensboro in Victoria. Always wanted to know, why are my hydrangea colours different? Mine seem to change colour along 2 different sides of my garden. Bought them from the same garden centre. Don't think they're different species, and they're not. But what changes flower colour with hydrangeas is pH. Now, pH is your soil acidity or alkalinity measure. If it's sitting in the middle, typically they're going to be a bluish colour. If they're quite acidic, they're definitely going to be a beautiful, strong, deep blue. And if they're going to be alkaline, if the soil's going to be alkaline, they're going to be pink. So you've probably got a variation in your soil pH, which is giving you different flower colours, even though they came probably from the same parent plant, the same garden centre, and they're growing in the same conditions. It's all about soil pH. Now, the good thing about this is you can manipulate it as well. So there's this hydrangea bluing tonic you can get, and it's effectively aluminium sulfate or iron sulfate. Both of them really good at acidifying the soil. Yeah, you can do that. That's going to turn them blue. If you want to turn them pink, well, all you have to do is apply some garden lime. It's pretty easy. It's pretty cool, isn't it? That's a great thing about hydrangeas. Now, I should tell you that there are some that are set colours. Okay, so generally the lace caps don't change colour an awful lot. And then you also have a red, and you also have a white, and changing those colours pretty much impossible. So hopefully there's a little bit of advice for you there. If you're looking for white, you're looking for red, you know what you need to do. You need to buy them as that in your garden centre now. And gee whiz, they are one of the garden centre highlights at the moment. In fact, I got 25 this morning, and I'm going to plant them strategically around the garden in prominent spots, particularly in the entrance to the house, really to add Christmas cheer, because they'll obviously colour that sort of entrance into the house right up and, well, to be quite honest, into probably January in my environment, before the flowers really lose their colour and fade. Okay, hopefully that answered the question. Jennifer Hardy Hanley. Hi, Jennifer, how are you? You're in Wollongong in New South Wales. Can you please recommend a dense cover for an ugly wall that is not high maintenance? Okay, well, there's so many amazing ground covers and obviously creepers that cover walls in particular. And you probably need to think about what type of wall it is. If it's a brick wall, you probably could put one of the climbers on that can actually tendril themselves into the wall. Things like, well, pretty much all the ivies, and you can get variegated ones, you can get deep dark green ones, you can get green ones with, little light hearts in the middle of them. There's all sorts of different colours of your various ivies. Then you've got your Boston ivies, Parthenocissus. They're sometimes called the flame vine or creeper. They also have the ability to hang onto a wall without having to go onto a trellis. If you want to grow something that's really spectacular but needs a little bit of extra love, let's say a Mandevilla, you're in a position where you could grow Mandevilla, I think, quite well in Wollongong. You will need to put a frame up, and that's a different thing. So there are a few new Mandevillas out. There's some whites, there's some beautiful pinks. They used to be called Diplodenias as well. There's some forms of those out there. And then there's one more that I'll suggest you have a bit of a think about, and it's a real highlight in my garden. It's probably not as dense as you might be looking for, but it is just stunning. It's called the purple wreath vine, Petrea volvulus. It is amazing. It has got this incredible purple racemes, and the racemes hold bracts. So the bracts are effectively a modified leaf that have just got this amazing purple blue color, and then this beautiful pure blue flower comes out the middle of the bract. So you kind of got this double whammy, and there'd probably be 50 flowers or something like that per bract, which is about that long. But a plant could probably produce anything north of maybe 150 flowers per flush, maybe even more for you. So it's a really interesting thing. Excuse me. Okay, Vinette Ainsberg, hello, you're in Belladura. I know you are. You're a great supporter of ours, Vinette. Hello. You've got a really good question here. This is something most of us will be thinking about. We're getting fruit, and sometimes your fruit can be really sweet. Sometimes your fruit can be sour. Now that can be an impact of soil pH as well. Sometimes they just need a sweetener in the soil, and adding sulfate of potash around the base of your plant will make the world of difference. Now, you've got pomegranates, and they can be quite tart as a general comment, but applying, because they should be in flower really at the moment, applying sulfate of potash around the base. It comes as a powder form. You buy it in like a little 1 kilo bag from companies like Rich Grow and I'm trying to think who else. It'll come to me. They all sell it as a pure thing. Sulfate of potash, if you want to sweeten your fruit, and sometimes it increases the size of fruit. It's a good way to go, Vinette. So pomegranates, that would be the best way to treat it. Sulfate of potash. Jeannie Palmer, hello. Lewiston, South Australia. Can you tell me? Oh no, we did this before. Sorry. Thanks. I hope you got that information, Jeannie. Brendan Johnston, thank you for answering my question. Is the sea salt wetting agent you spoke about earlier the best? I think sea salt wetting agent is fantastic because it does two things. It is a brilliant wetting agent, really effective. But more importantly, what's really cool about it is it's got sea salt in it. So it's stimulating new root growth. It's improving the health of the soil. Jay Pacharada, I hope I got that right. You're here in Southern River in WA. Spiders are everywhere. Is there anything I can do to get rid of them and their webs from my garden? Hate getting jump scared by them. My friend uses a blowtorch, but that doesn't seem safe. I don't think that sounds very safe either. Look, you know what? The funny thing about spiders is, yes, right now, and I've got them in my garden as well, they're everywhere. But they're playing a very important role. If you take them out, you'll throw the balance of nature out because they're capturing all of the moths and all of the insects that can become quite plague-like in the early sort of summer period. I think if I was you, I would put up with them because in about a month's time, they actually provide food. So they'll start being predated by birds. There's a whole bunch of birds that are really active in the month of December where they're actually eating all these spiders, as many as they can get. So it's kind of Mother Nature. I'd just suck it up for a little while, get over it, ignore them, walk around with a stick in front of you, making sure the webs don't get you. And in about a month's time, you'll find they all suddenly just disappear. There's not many of them around. They're not as prominent because they are now hiding from the predatory animals that go for them, particularly birds. All right, Kerry McClure, hello, you're in Roleystone. We're back over here again in WA. In fact, I think we've got 2 or 3 in WA. This is really good. It's great to have you guys joining us, but don't forget the rest of the country. We've got some great stuff going on all over the place. Now, Kerry, you're in Roleystone, you've got a blueberry bush, it's going really good, looks healthy, it's flowered twice now, but no fruit. Is it birds? Or do you think it's lacking something? That's a really good question. It shouldn't be losing its fruit. If it is, what it actually indicates is that when it comes into flower, everything's good. Then the soil's drying out, and when the soil dries out, instead of the fruit setting, it'll shed a lot of fruit. And I've got a funny feeling, Kerry, that if you went and tested the soil around the base of this by digging some little patches, little holes, you're probably going to find that it's dry. So again, have you seen the change of theme in this week's show? There's so many problems that are coming up that indicate that we're now in a very dry soil environment. In fact, in Western Australia, I think all burning has been banned now completely by, I think, the majority of the councils in the Midwest, certainly in around the Perth Hills area. And the reason is they've worked out soil moisture content in Perth at the moment is at the same level it was last December, which means that we're going into a lot drier summer. And I don't mind dry summers because I've got irrigation. Irrigation is one of the great marvels for gardeners. And once we've got our irrigation right, our plants will love us because you can keep soil moisture levels consistent. And that's the ultimate goal for a gardener. If you can do that, you're doing well. So hopefully that helps answer. I think it's dryness, Kerry. I think it's dropping the fruit because it knows it's not going to get enough moisture. Okay, let's keep moving on. We do have questions coming in now from a few different places around the country, but Fiona Goodrich is in Hammersley in Perth. It's got a pomegranate, 3-year-old, looks great, but doesn't have a single flower. Last year you had one, pruned it in winter when it lost its leaves. What can I do next year to encourage flowering? Don't prune it, Fiona. I think you've pruned the flowering wood off. They do tend to flower off early foliage. Mine at home is a massive flower at the moment, and it's probably 5 years old, so it's a little bit older. But there is also a thing with fruit trees, and it's a really important thing for you to remember. Fruit trees have to get a really good root system down and get themselves fully established. And sometimes that can take up to 5 years. So I've had, particularly avocados, that didn't flower for 5 years, or they did flower, but they didn't set fruit. But then suddenly, year 5, bang, they set fruit. The other one's cherries. The cherry tree in my garden took 5 years basically before they suddenly started setting fruit. I think maybe year 7, they set so much fruit that all the branches were weeping with the weight of the fruit. So it's kind of Mother Nature at her very best, or maybe not most convenient for you. But I would give it lots of fertilizer. I would give it lots of water, encourage it to grow. Do not prune it come winter time. Fiona, hopefully that's a bit of advice for you. Okay, here we go. Now, this one's got me a little confused. Sue Hall, Shay's also been curious about this. Hello to my favourite show. Thank you, Sue. I'd like your opinion regrowing pot plants in leca. Oh, leca is expanded clay. Okay, I only know it as expanded clay. Works really well. I was just out at Nev Passmore's family's business. His wife Delia has an amazing hydroponic business, and it is a core ingredient to pretty much a lot of the hydroponics that they grow. But you don't have to necessarily be hydroponic. You do have to keep it moist, but if you've got watering wells with wickers in them, you're going to be fine. And the good question, I suppose it's one of the important ones. Actually, I'll keep that in the context of explaining. So expanded clay is something that's been superheated, and when it expands, it literally and it looks like gravel, but it's super light. If you have a really close look, you'll see it's porous all the way through. Now, this is fantastic because the porous nature of it means it holds moisture for longer. And what you'll find is roots tend to grow into it, so they hang on to it because it's a great source of moisture. The other thing about it is that it's that perforated sort of nature of the surface allows beneficial bacteria in there. And this is really good for healthy roots. So very important. The big thing with it is you do have to feed your plants that are growing in it in leca or expanded clay. And liquid fertilizers tend to be the best ones to use. So depending on what kind of plants, Phostrogen or Thrive or one of those will do a great job. The organic fertilizers, liquid fertilizers, tend to be a little bit cloggy. They sort of start to clog it up a little bit. So they're probably not necessarily the one I would recommend, albeit a little shot of something like sea salt every once in a while won't hurt them at all. So how's that? Great question. Even satisfied Shay's curiosity, which is pretty good. All right, so I'm going to talk to you about these guys. So these are cherries. This is the Stella cherry, and I've got 3 different types in my garden. I have Stella, the cross-pollinator that I have for this, which Stella is partially self-fertile, but the cross-pollinator I put in not far from it is Bing. They flower at the same time and it cross-pollinates and you end up with really good crops. Interesting thing about cherries is they are a cool climate tree. They do require cooler climates. So some of those varieties like Stella, Bing, Van, they're pretty low chill. So they can kind of grow in most locations. In fact, I think Van's becoming quite rare these days. But the great thing about those 2 that I have in my garden is that I can have them growing right next to tropicals, which sounds crazy, but I can have mangoes and cherries alongside each other. And it talks about the diversity of my climate. I get enough chill hours. That's hours that are under 10 degrees per winter, which triggers the flowering process, which triggers obviously the pollination process and subsequent fruiting process. The other thing about cherries is getting the root system right is vitally important. So for the first few years, if you see fruit, and there won't be a lot, but if you see fruit, pick it off. Encourage the tree to keep developing its size and shape, and most importantly, its root system. Really vitally important with cherries. And if you are in a warm climate and you're borderline on whether they're going to actually produce flower because it's just a little bit too warm, you can kind of cheat it through the winter by getting blocks of ice and putting them in around the base. Those chill hours are not measured by the cold air around the outside of the branches of the tree, but more by the cold nature of the soil. So if you can chill them down, really good way to go. But cherries, now's the time. And you know what? Every single day, I probably picked double this yesterday, and the day before that, double this. And this was my quick run out this morning. And when I get home, I'm going to have to go and pick some more. And if I don't pick them, they go from this light color, which is a little tart. I'm going to show you this. So that's just a little too light. I shouldn't have picked those really. To a beautiful dark color. In fact, that's a better example right there. So you can see the 2 colors. One's lighter, one's darker. They're both okay to eat at this point in time. The darker one is sweeter. The lighter one's more tart. Can be used very well in cooking. But here's the thing with them is that if I don't pick them when they get to that darker color, I'll lose them to birds. And I did have an example or 2 around where there's a little bit of a bird bite here and there. And if I let the birds, we give enough food for them for one feed. In other words, they come in, let's say they eat 10 cherries. The next day, they will come back with 50 of their mates and the whole tree will be gone as far as fruit goes. So picking every day those fruit that are ripe is really, really important. And there's a couple of other things just to add to it. So when it comes to care, as soon as it finishes fruiting, feed it. They all need a good feed. And the second thing is if you want to give them a prune, it's actually probably better to prune them after they have finished fruiting to encourage new growth, which they will do. And then from that growth, you will end up with fruit for next season. It's pretty cool, isn't it? That's really one of my favorite fruiting trees at the moment. And they are so delicious and so good for you. All right. Mattia Jayrendra, hello, you're in Balcombe Hills. You're a great supporter of the show. Thank you. Sent us a photograph. This is great. Mattia, let's have a look at what you've sent us. I used this on my strawberries and it killed it. Is it too strong? Oh, this is black marble. So this is a predominantly it's a chicken manure based fertilizer from the guys at Rich Grow. It tends to release quite quickly. It's not a slow release. It's absolutely brilliant for flowering plants. So roses, etc. love it. This is, I think, the fruit and citrus blend. If you are using something that releases nutrient very, very quickly, strawberries, which can be quite sensitive, they can really suffer. So that's not an unusual thing. Another little tip with this one is when you apply this one, you've got to make sure you wash it into the soil thoroughly. Really important that it is sort of washed in. It encourages the nutrient to move through, and as soon as it's moving through the soil, the roots will follow it. And the only other thing is, like all fertilizers, use them sparingly, not too much in any one hit. Regular feed on a regular occasion will do all the good. I suppose it's probably one of the reasons why I'm always recommending controlled release fertilizers, and it's why we love Troforte so much, is that you can't really burn your plants with Troforte. It's almost impossible. You'd have to throw handfuls and handfuls of it on. And what happens with this is that as it releases small amounts every single day over a 4-month period or even a 6-month period, depending on the type you've got. This is really good. So controlled release fertilizers are my go, but if you want to give the soil a really good boost, black marble, some people absolutely swear by it. So my advice is probably back off with the fast release, move towards the controlled release, or even a liquid fertilizer, Mattia. I hope that helps. Fortunately, once your strawberries are burnt, it's pretty hard to get them to come back. Hopefully, if you take some of the old foliage off, you'll see a little bit of regrowth and they will recover. Rick Nielsen, hello. You've come to us via YouTube, actually. You live on the East Coast in Brisbane. Been watching a lot of videos on syntropic farming. What's your opinion on it and what direction should the beds run? I really do not know a lot about it. I haven't tried it. Certainly read about it. I don't really have an opinion at this point in time. But maybe we've got somebody who's participating in the show today who's actually tried it or is doing it. Syntropic farming. Might be worthwhile you just, let me think about it. I'll have a bit of a look into it, Rick, and I'll give you a bit of feedback next week. It's probably the best way to deal with it. Sylvia Robin, hello. We're not sure where you're from, Sylvia. You've got to let us know. I have a small cherry tree that's Y-shaped, like that. One side is dead and the other is going well. How do I get the other side shooting a new limb? Some sort of grafting. Now, if it's dead on one side, you won't be able to graft on that side. You are going to have to remove the dead wood, encourage the other limb so that it straightens up, maybe encourage it to be a little bit bushier, and it'll start to get some better shape. But fortunately, if it's a dead limb, not going to work. King Liao, hello, you're in Perth. You sent us some photographs. Let's have a look. This panache fig has lost all its leaves after our recent hot weather. Will it grow more leaves? Now, I'm looking at it. Does look a little dehydrated. Doesn't look 100% a happy king. I would give it some sea salt, try to encourage it, and I wouldn't put it, I would place it out of the hot afternoon sun. Yes, I would definitely keep it out of the hot afternoon sun for a little period of time. Interestingly enough, the panache fig has a fig, normal size fig, and on the inside, it's like a raspberry color, and it's got a real sweet raspberry flavor to it as well. The other thing that's interesting about the fruit is the external skin of the fruit is variegated. So it's a light green with a variegation. Also, very interesting, the foliage can also be the same way. But if you move that tree and put it into a shaded position, you'll lose the variegation. You'll just end up with a green fig tree. So, a little bit of background on the panache fig. It's a bit different. Linda Lockyer, okay, Morning, it's very hot and dry in Palmwood Sunshine Coast today. Poor plants, absolutely. Linda, when it gets like that, little tip, sea salt is a wonderful plant in hot, dry conditions. Wonderful product in hot, dry conditions. The seaweed extract sprayed over the foliage of plants really helps them get through those really extreme conditions. So soak the roots, spray the foliage. You can get those hose-ons with sea salt. I think there's the sea salt gold. You might want to take a look at that just to try and get them through the extreme conditions, because hot and dry can be stressful. Let's keep moving. We'll go to Belgrave. Margaret Campion, hello, how are you? Okay, with azaleas, when the flowers die in the bush, should they all be picked off or can you prune back hard? Plus, do you get rid of petal blight and rust on the leaves? Actually, I've got that really badly on my azaleas this year, and I didn't spray them, and by the time I saw the damage, it was too late. So the real question is, what do we do when we're in that situation? Well, if it's finished flowering, you can prune it. Don't know whether I want to prune it too hard. Azaleas can kind of get a little bit gangly if you don't. Just prune them consistently. Just take I don't know, that maybe 150, 100 mil or so often. Encourage them to become more compact and bushy. That's probably the thing I would suggest. Petal blight and rust, particularly petal blight. The rust on the leaves is probably more likely to be azalea lace beetle or even red spider mite. It comes across like it's a rust, but it's not. So these are microscopic insects effectively that are just sucking all the goodness out of the leaves. They tend to turn them a silvery color eventually, and those leaves are never going to recover. So those leaves have to come off. So prune all that foliage off, give them a really good spray. You need a systemic insecticide to properly control them. So you break the cycle of the insect and stop it from spreading to your other plants as well. Hopefully that bit of advice helps a little bit. Kay Boyd, hello. You're in Elizabeth Downs in South Australia. I'm having an awful lot of trouble growing my lily pilly hedge. You've got a Dawson River weeper callistemon on a subverge tree and your hedge is adjacent to it. Had to replace the same lily pillies. You've improved the soil, you've tried wetting agents. Could it be the callistemon? I'm in Elizabeth Downs in South Australia. Yes. You know what? I suspect that that's exactly what it is. I suspect that it might be a bit of root competition coming from that callistemon. They do compete. They are very similar sized plants, and they do compete with each other. So maybe you can sort of put a root barrier around the base of the plants, or you need to reconsider having a hedge that close to a callistemon. Probably not the answer you're looking for, but I can't think of anything else at the moment to help you in that space. Ryder Riddell, hello. Hi, Trevor. What's the difference between those corporate office gardens and our home gardens? Wondering if I could use some of those plants in my home. Of course you can. In a corporate garden environment, it's really, really difficult to with air conditioning and neglect when people are not there in the weekends. You've got to have really tough plants. So some of those plants are things like ficus, and the ZZ plant is probably the toughest of all the plants, and they will do very well at home as well as in the office. I hope I answered your question well enough. Marcia Blake, hello. You're in Harvey. Harvey's in Western Australia. You've been growing peanuts. Great. My peanuts have sprouted. What fertilizer routine should I be taking on to support their growth, please? You know what? Don't do a lot of feeding with them. They're an amazing plant, incredibly good for the soil. They'll be taking nitrogen out of the atmosphere and locking it up in the soil. And of course, come sort of autumn time, you'll be able to harvest peanuts. Crazy, hey? That's pretty cool. I wouldn't be feeding them unless they're really looking yellow, and then definitely a liquid fertilizer. Something like a power feed would do the world of good. Even that Troforte liquid fertilizer, that might be the ideal scenario for them if the soil's not delivering the nutrients they need. But they'll tell you because they'll go yellow. Okay, where are we at? We've got 13 minutes to the hour. It's unbelievable how fast this is all flowing. You know what? We haven't had a single problem this week, and I think it's all because Shaylee took way out of the driver's seat. She's been driving it today, or he's upset with me. But yeah, we haven't had any challenges, so which is really good. We'll put the apprentice back in the driver's seat next week and see how we go. They're both having a little giggle to themselves. Actually, Way looks really angry, but that's okay. I'm going to give him some cherries in a little while. Look at this bowl of cherries. How good's that? Look at that. That's just fantastic. You see, he's gone quiet. He's smiling again. See, that's how you win people over. Cherries. Fiona Hadley. Hello, Fiona. I've been busy in baby season. Yes, of course. You're a wildlife carer, and your poor veggie garden has suffered. I've chopped and dropped most of the beds, topped with compost and soil, and added seaweed and Charlie carp. What low maintenance prolific veggies can I plant, please? Wow. In my garden, I've been running some new crops of beans. I've been running some new crops of corn. So to capitalize on the sun, because when it's at its very best and sweet. But the family of plants that I'm growing the most of in my veggie garden are the Solanum family. So tomatoes being the most obvious one, chilies, eggplants, and capsicum. I've got lots and lots of them growing in the garden. They are loving these conditions. I've been using homemade compost, but at the same time, a little bit of sheep manure, and the surface of the soil is amazing. In fact, it's one of those things. It's effectively the measurement of the health of your garden is what happens when you put moisture on good quality soil. So I've put all that down, and what I'm seeing at the moment is a massive burst of growth of little seedlings coming through the soil. Most of them are things like Cape gooseberries and tomatoes from last year that the seed was in the compost. So anything that had seed in that compost is now starting to pop back up. So I'm selectively picking out what it is I want to keep, and the rest I'm letting go. One I've got that's really cool is shiso. And if you've ever been to a Korean restaurant or a Japanese restaurant, it's a leaf you get, and it's quite it's a pungent sort of flavor to that leaf. Really, really cool when you wrap meat in it. Or I've just been growing a big crop of, actually I must put these up on my Facebook page, big crop of exotic mushrooms. My mate Dave Proudmore at Swan Valley Gourmet Mushrooms, I got some off him, set the plants up. It's in a glass house, so it's warm and it's humid. They're sitting in plastic storage tubs, and they're growing heaps and heaps and heaps of fruit. What I've been doing is actually cooking them in butter and garlic with a bit of salt and pepper, and in some cases just a small chili, just one small chili finely chopped, and then cooking them up. And these are these oyster mushrooms predominantly, and then popping them inside a shiso leaf and eating them that way. And they are so good for you, but so delicious. Really, really good. Okay, I'll keep rolling on. I got distracted there. Hopefully that helps with your soil advice. Rena Kellis, you're in Sydney. Hello, Rena. Can I cut magnolias growing in pots? And when can I fertilise with what? Well, right now, pruning magnolias is probably not the go, only because they're going to be producing flowers, or most of them have. If there's some of those beautiful fairy magnolias from Anthony Tesla International, then the truth of the matter is that you do not want to be worrying about that too much, because they will have finished flowering. So prune them into shape. That's fine. Now, you talk about fertilizer. Yes, you should feed them. Is seaweed solution okay, is your question? And the answer is seaweed is not a fertilizer. It is a soil improver. It improves the growth of roots and the resilience of plants, but it doesn't feed them. It has no NPK in them. So again, going to something like Troforte for flowering plants, I think roses, and I can't think of what else sits in that mix, but and camellias maybe, but that would be the ideal one I would use. So hopefully that will help. And Anne Woods asked a question, when you use Troforte, do you need other fertilizers in between? The answer is no, as a general comment. In fact, Troforte, for me in my garden, I think the best results that I've seen come when I'm using Troforte with not quite a raw compost, but a fairly raw compost, so one that's not fully broken down. Because the Troforte has got this 24 to 26 beneficial soil microbes in it, One of the actions of those microbes is to take organic matter and convert it into fertilizer that's available to your plants. And as it's breaking it down, which is breaking down your compost, you start to see that disappear, but it's turning it all into fertilizer along the way. So you've kind of got the double whammy. Hopefully that helps explain what I mean. But Tre Forte can be used all year round, and no, you don't need anything else. In my garden, the only other thing I'd probably do is throw down sheep manure, but it's not really for the nutritional benefit. It's very much about keeping the carbon levels right in the soil and keeping moisture in the surface of the soil. Phew. We are getting closer. 7 minutes to go. Charlie, you're in Queensland. Just moved to a property on the outskirts of native bushland. Is there anything I need to do for wildlife? Anything in particular I should or shouldn't be growing? I suppose the thing is, if you want to bring wildlife onto your property, planting indigenous species from the immediate area around the outside will provide them a habitat, will provide them with fertilizer, and generally you won't need to provide supplementary watering or anything because these plants naturally grow in the environment you're in. So that's probably the simple answer from my point of view. Jasmine Peters, you are in Brookvale in Sydney. I tried to sprout strawberry seeds. They start growing quickly, but quickly die. I'm not sure why. Probably, simple answer to that is probably not enough moisture. They do require, because they're tiny little seeds, tiny little root systems. You can actually see them germinate on the fruit at times. But yes, you have to put them into like a peat, so a cocoa peat potting mix, ideally, propagation mix, and they'll do quite well in that environment. Okay, so we've been Queensland, we've been Sydney. Let's come back to Perth. Rachel Adams, hello. Planted some mint seeds and they're not surviving. I'm not sure if they're being eaten or whether they're just giving up, but I really want mint for my cocktails. Well, it's a very unusual thing to grow mint from seed. It can be done, but it is harder in the warm, dry conditions we're experiencing in Perth now. And so my advice would be that you get a plant or grow them from cutting. You can actually grow them quite well, mint from cutting. And of course, you get the variety that you want, the kind of plant that you want. Definitely mint for cocktails is a terrific way to go too. So as we move into the summer, I'd grab a couple of starter plants and get them going that way. It's cheap, and you can keep breaking up the runners and spreading them around the garden wherever you want mint to grow. I do love mint. In fact, I've got a peppermint, ground cover peppermint that I'm growing in replacement of grass in certain areas where it's just too shaded. And there is nothing better than having mowed the lawn and mowed the mint, because the fragrance, the smell through the garden is amazing. And that creeping peppermint is a wonderful ground cover and a wonderful turf replacement, or alternative as they like to call them. Lynn Winstanley, hello Lynn, I'm glad you joined us again this week. Lynn, thank you. You're in Claremont over here in WA. Could I use Tre Forte for citrus on my gardenias, please? Absolutely. They will go really well together, actually. That Tre Forte for citrus is really good for flowering plants. It does a really, really good job. Whew. We have, I think, just about got to the end of the run. I'm thinking to myself, it's been a very, very busy day, and there are a lot of questions that are sitting there. I'm going to leave you with one bit of advice, then we'll announce our winners for the question of the day. We'll give you our code word as well for the Tre Forte pack. You see this here. Not everybody, but there's a lot of our viewers each week with Garden Gurus Live are female. And there's been this amazing body of research done by Royal Perth Hospital Research Foundation. It's a 10-year study. I think it was 10,000 women. Half of them had green apples, half of them had red apples, this red skin. You can see this one here. There's a whole bunch that are suitable. Pink Lady is pretty good, but the Bravo, that's a pretty special apple. This dark color, this pigment on the skin, is caused as a result of exposure to very bright, direct sunlight. It's actually a pigmentation, very much like we would get if we were outside and we were getting sunburnt. We'd eventually end up with quite a permanent brown sort of texture to our skin. That's part of the breeding of these programs. The research, let me take you back to that story, was quite incredible. You see, one of the biggest killers of women in Australia is cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, hypertension, causing stroke, causing heart attacks, all those sorts of things. Now, this is and you're right, King, it's the Bravo. This is where it really gets interesting. You see, the research found that one red-skinned apple a day reduces your risk of death of hypertension or cardiovascular disease as a result of that by about 80%. Now, it's an incredible thing to think that you could just add an apple into your diet each day and dramatically improve your general health, but more importantly, reduce your risk of early demise. So I want to leave that with you. And then next week, gentlemen, for those of you that have tuned in, we'll talk about tomatoes and why they're important for men. Very, very important. We've got one last question. I'm going to answer this one for Jeannie Napier. Hello, Jeannie. It's always good to have you join us each week. I'm looking forward to catching up with you very soon. Do you have the chocolate mint? I do have a little patch of the chocolate mint, I think, still in my garden. It's one that I probably don't use enough of, but it's absolutely fantastic. Easy to grow, and yes, it smells just like that. What do they used to call those things? They come in little packets, and it's a dark chocolate with mint flavour in it. After dinner mints. Just like that. That's exactly what it tastes like. Yeah. All right. I'm going to go to our competition draw to see who the winner was for our $50 gift voucher. And Shay has jumped in here because she loved this question. Mm-hmm. This question was answered something that she has been pondering for a long period of time, and so has Sue Hall. And hopefully I helped you with your leca, with your clay ball, so that expanded clay material that I was talking about. It's absolutely wonderful. Does it need certain things? Yes, it does need a controlled release fertilizer, maybe more importantly, a liquid fertilizer, and just kept moist. But yeah, wonderful medium to grow plants in. I hope that helped answer your question. Now, remember, if you liked what you saw on today's show, all you have to do to help us out is hit the like button. It's a really important thing. It does help us. It shares it with your friends, because those wonderful people at Facebook, they have algorithms that stop people from tuning in. So if you're helping your friends out and sharing the love, it helps us out as well, because we put a lot of effort into making sure that this really is, I suppose, relevant to everybody right across Australia, that it adds value, and it's quite a unique kind of service that we're offering. Your Troforte code word for the day, you'll have to go to the Troforte Facebook page and type in this one, POTS. That's right, POTS. Nice and easy. And like the Troforte page, share it with your friends. It's a good way to go. And of course, you'll be in the running to win $250 worth of fabulous garden food for your plants, for your lawn. All right. We have no garden gurus for you this weekend. Australia overnight won their way into the World Cup with cricket, and that is going to now be broadcast live on Channel 9. Just happens to be during our time slot, so between 4 and 6 p.m. So that is going to bump back a week, so we can all cheer the Aussies on, and hopefully they can bring home the bacon. We do, of course, have a heap of information available for you. So if you need any help, and there's a lot going on in the garden this time of the year, so if you need any help, some of the simple things, you'll find all that information on our website. And if you want to watch any more videos, well, all you have to do is go to our YouTube channel. It's thegardengurus.tv. Subscribe, and we'll update you every time we put new videos up there, which we do every week. So it's a chance for you to see that. And Sue Hall's so very excited, and so you should be. You will be able to go shopping from the comfort of your armchair. It's 24/7 whenever you want, and it's going to be delivered direct to your door, whatever it is you choose to buy. Of course, gardenexpress.com.au, it's your destination when it comes to that. And remember that amazing gift voucher offer if you're thinking about buying gifts for family, for friends, somebody you love. That's a perfect way to go, and it's delivered direct into their mailbox as well. So that's the great thing about shopping for friends who live in distant places. They can buy from all over Australia. I'm Trevor Cochrane. Thank you so much for joining us. Good job, Shay. You drove it super well. You're a great role model for Way. He's obviously learning how to do it. She's been teaching him, and he might be doing it next week again on his own, I suspect. Happy gardening, everybody. Enjoy this beautiful weather. Enjoy your gardens. I'm Trevor Cochrane. I'll see you next week.